What if I told you that a simple 1-cent coin hiding in your pocket could be worth a fortune beyond imagination? These Lincoln cents and Wheat pennies are not just spare change, they are silent treasures waiting to explode in value. One rare date, one flawless condition, one hidden detail, and your life could change overnight. Before you spend that penny, look again. You might be holding a millionaire's secret. First up, the 2009 Lincoln Bicentennial cent with a birth and early childhood reverse design is not just a coin. It is a symbolic doorway into American history, destiny, and hidden fortune. Released to honor the 200th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, this coin quietly entered circulation while the world was distracted by economic chaos. Most people spent it without a second thought, unaware that certain versions of this humble-looking cent were carrying the DNA of extreme rarity, historical importance, and astonishing value potential. What makes this coin dangerous, in a good way, is that it looks ordinary to the untrained eye, yet in the right condition or striking variation, it becomes a silent wealth holder capable of changing a person's entire financial future. The birth and early childhood design tells a story that begins long before money, power, or fame entered Lincoln's life. The reverse shows a simple log cabin nestled in Kentucky, representing the raw beginnings of a man who would later shape a nation. That cabin is not decoration. It is a coded message of humility, struggle, and transformation. Coins like this were designed to remind people that greatness often comes from nothing, and ironically, the same philosophy applies to the coin itself. Something that looks like spare change can, under very specific circumstances, become a multi-million-dollar artifact. What truly separates the valuable versions of this coin from the common ones is not the design alone, but the how and when of its creation. The 2009 Lincoln cents were produced during a turbulent year for the U.S. Mint, with changes in metal sourcing, striking pressure, die quality, and minting priorities. Some coins were struck with exceptional sharpness, mirror-like surfaces, and near-perfect detail, while others received unusual characteristics that were never meant to exist. These anomalies are where unimaginable value begins to form. Condition is the silent king in the world of rare coins, and with this cent, it becomes absolutely brutal. A coin preserved in flawless, untouched condition, free from scratches, wear, cleaning marks, or discoloration, enters a completely different universe of value. When paired with extraordinary strike quality or rare minting behavior, the price no longer follows logic. At that point, collectors are no longer buying copper and zinc, they are competing for a once-in-a-lifetime survivor. This is where six-figure values quietly escalate into numbers that most people would never associate with a 1-cent coin. Some versions of this coin exist with characteristics so rare that even experienced collectors may overlook them if they are not paying attention. Slight deviations in surface texture, unexpected sharpness in Lincoln's portrait, unusually bold details in the log cabin, or a finish that looks almost sculpted rather than struck, these features create whispers in the collector world. When one of these coins appears, it doesn't scream wealth, it waits patiently for the right eyes. And when those eyes belong to elite collectors or investors, the bidding war becomes intense and emotionally charged. The myth that only coins from 1909 can hold massive value is one of the biggest lies in numismatics. While the original 1909 Lincoln cent introduced the series, the 2009 bicentennial issues carry a commemorative weight that future generations will increasingly appreciate. They mark a full 200 years of Lincoln's legacy, something that will never happen again. Time adds pressure to rarity, and pressure adds zeros to price tags. Coins that are overlooked today often become the center of obsession tomorrow. Another layer of value lies in the psychological power of storytelling. Collectors do not just buy metal, they buy narratives. The idea that a coin represents Lincoln's birth, his childhood struggles, and the early foundation of a leader who abolished slavery gives this cent emotional gravity. Emotional gravity attracts serious money. When collectors feel that a coin connects them to a defining moment in history, they stop thinking rationally and start thinking possessively. That is when values explode. There is also the factor of survival rates, which most people never consider. Millions of these coins were minted, yes, but how many survived in perfect condition? How many avoided circulation, damage, cleaning, moisture, or careless storage? The number shrinks dramatically when filtered through time. Coins that survive untouched become elite survivors, and elite survivors command elite prices. This is how common mintage numbers collapse into extreme rarity at the highest condition levels. Some coins from this series have surfaced with striking qualities so unusual that they feel almost intentional, as if the mint accidentally created a prototype meant for museums rather than pockets. When such coins enter private hands, they become trophies. Trophies are not priced by logic, they are priced by desire. Desire is unpredictable, aggressive, and often limitless when wealth meets obsession. That is why values can jump overnight without warning. The danger for ordinary people is spending or selling such a coin without understanding what they are holding. Many life-changing coins are lost not because they were rare, but because they were misunderstood. A single careless transaction can erase a future that never even had a chance to begin. This is why patience becomes more powerful than money itself. The right coin, held at the right time, sold to the right audience, can outperform decades of traditional work. Coins like the 2009 Lincoln Bicentennial birth cent also benefit from generational transition. As new collectors enter the market, they are drawn to modern history combined with classic symbolism. This coin sits perfectly at that intersection. It is modern enough to feel accessible, yet historic enough to feel important. That balance is rare, and rarity always attracts capital. The phrase, million-dollar condition, is not fantasy. It is a warning. It warns people not to judge value by face value, not to underestimate quiet objects, and not to rush decisions driven by short-term thinking. The coin does not promise wealth. It offers potential. Potential is dangerous when ignored and powerful when understood. Those who recognize it early are often the ones whose lives quietly change. This is not a story about guaranteed riches. It is a story about possibility hiding in plain sight. The power of this coin lies in its silence. It does not glitter like gold or demand attention like paper money. It waits. And when the world catches up to its significance, those who held on to it long enough may realize that fortune does not always arrive loudly. Sometimes it comes disguised as a single cent. If you own a 2009 Lincoln Bicentennial cent with a birth and early childhood design, especially one that appears untouched, unusually sharp, or visually exceptional, treat it with respect. History rewards patience, not haste. Coins like this do not follow normal financial rules. They follow time, scarcity, and human obsession. And those three forces, when aligned, have the power to rewrite a person's destiny overnight. Second up, the 2009 Lincoln Bicentennial 1-cent coin featuring the Professional Life in Illinois reverse design is not just a piece of pocket change. It is a powerful historical symbol wrapped in copper and ambition. Released to honor the 200th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, this coin captures the moment when Lincoln stood tall as a young lawyer in Illinois, long before he became President of the United States. Most people who saw it in circulation treated it like any other penny, unaware that certain versions of this very coin, under the right conditions, could hold astonishing value. What looks ordinary at first glance can become extraordinary when rarity, condition, and demand collide in perfect timing. The reverse design shows Lincoln standing before the Illinois State Capitol in Springfield, representing his professional rise and intellectual strength. This was the period when he built his legal career, sharpened his debate skills, and shaped the moral backbone that later defined his presidency. The image is more than artwork. It represents transformation through discipline and vision. That symbolism alone gives the coin emotional depth. Collectors are not just buying metal. They are buying a chapter of American growth, resilience, and ambition frozen into a 1-cent piece. While millions of these coins were minted in 2009, true value does not come from quantity alone. It comes from survival in elite condition. Coins that remain in flawless mint state preservation, untouched by circulation, free of scratches, fingerprints, or environmental damage, enter a completely different financial universe. When grading reaches the absolute highest levels, especially with sharp strike details and glowing original surfaces, the competition among collectors intensifies. At that point, the coin stops being common currency and starts becoming a high-stakes collectible asset. The year 2009 was unusual for U.S. coin production. Economic instability influenced minting decisions, and production numbers were lower than many previous years. Lower overall mintage automatically increases long-term scarcity potential. But scarcity alone is not enough. The real power lies in exceptional examples: coins struck with razor-sharp detail in Lincoln's coat, clean architectural lines in the Illinois Capitol, and bold lettering that appears almost sculpted rather than stamped. These superior strikes are rare within the already limited production. Some collectors search aggressively for error variations within the 2009 Bicentennial series. Even the slightest misalignment, doubling in lettering, or die irregularity can transform a normal coin into a treasure. Minting errors are unpredictable and accidental, which makes them fascinating and valuable. When an already historically significant design combines with an unusual minting characteristic, the result can be explosive in the collector market. Coins with dramatic and visually obvious errors often attract intense bidding battles. Condition grading plays a brutal role in determining value. The difference between a coin graded near perfect and one graded perfect can mean thousands, or even tens of thousands, of dollars in difference. In extremely rare situations, if a coin represents one of the finest known examples in existence, collectors may push its value to astonishing heights. The phrase "million-dollar coin" sounds unbelievable for a penny, yet history has proven that condition, rarity, and demand can elevate even the smallest denomination into a financial giant. Another hidden factor behind high value is the emotional magnetism of Lincoln himself. Lincoln is one of the most respected and studied figures in American history. His journey from a small-town lawyer in Illinois to the presidency during the Civil War creates a powerful narrative. This coin specifically captures him during his professional growth, the stage where leadership was forming. That developmental stage makes the coin deeply symbolic, and symbolism drives serious collectors to pay premiums far beyond face value. The metal composition of 2009 cents also adds intrigue. While most were struck in the standard copper-plated zinc format, special collector versions were minted in a composition closer to the original bronze used in 1909. These special strikes, especially in pristine proof condition, command much higher prices than circulated examples. When preserved inside original mint packaging and untouched by air or moisture, they become time capsules from the bicentennial celebration year. Survival rate is the silent filter that determines long-term value. Many 2009 pennies entered circulation and were worn down quickly. Others were lost, damaged, or stored carelessly. Only a small percentage remain in flawless state. As years pass, that number shrinks further. Time quietly eliminates competition. What remains decades later are elite survivors, and elite survivors always command elite prices. The psychology of wealth also plays a powerful role. When collectors believe a coin represents both historical importance and investment potential, they treat it as a trophy. Trophy assets are not priced logically, they are priced emotionally. When two determined buyers compete for the finest known specimen, the final number can skyrocket beyond expectations. This is how seemingly impossible valuations become reality. It is important to understand that not every 2009 professional life in Illinois cent is worth a fortune. The majority remain worth only face value or modest collector premiums. The difference between ordinary and extraordinary lies in preservation, strike quality, rarity of variation, and verified grading. Without those elements, the dream of overnight fortune remains just that, a dream. But with those elements aligned, the possibility becomes real. The Bicentennial series marked a unique turning point in Lincoln cent history. Never before had 4 separate reverse designs been issued in a single year to tell the story of one man's life. That historical uniqueness ensures lasting collector interest. As future generations rediscover this special year, attention may shift strongly toward the finest preserved examples. Increased attention often means increased demand, and increased demand fuels price growth. For anyone who believes they may own a high-quality example, careful handling is essential. Never clean the coin, never polish it, and never store it loosely. Cleaning destroys natural surfaces and instantly reduces value. Professional grading from a respected service is often the safest way to confirm condition and authenticity. Certification provides confidence to buyers and transforms uncertainty into marketable credibility. In the end, the 2009 Lincoln Bicentennial Professional Life in Illinois cent carries more than monetary potential. It carries the spirit of ambition, progress, and transformation. It reminds us that greatness often begins in humble form. While not every coin will make someone wealthy overnight, the rare and perfectly preserved examples hold undeniable power in the collector world. Sometimes fortune hides in plain sight, waiting for the right moment, the right condition, and the right collector to unlock its true worth. Third up, the 2009 Lincoln Bicentennial 1-cent coin, featuring the formative years design, is more than just a small piece of metal. It's a time capsule that holds the spirit of a young Abraham Lincoln, a reminder of humble beginnings, and for some rare examples, the potential to change a person's life overnight. Picture this, a coin no bigger than your thumb, yet deep within its copper surface lies a story of learning, persistence, and hidden fortune. This series was struck to celebrate Lincoln's 200th birthday, and the formative years design shows him as a youth in Indiana, sitting on a log, head bent in study, absorbed in books, a depiction of raw curiosity and self-made brilliance. This quiet image is powerful, not just in historical meaning, but in the way it captures the imagination of collectors and treasure hunters around the world. Imagine a young Lincoln, barefoot, perched on rough wood, his mind reaching beyond his physical surroundings. That symbolism resonates with collectors who see value not just in metal, but in narrative and transformation. Most people spent these pennies thinking they were ordinary, but in the hands of fate and time, some of these coins survived in conditions so pristine and extraordinary that they become silent vaults of unimaginable wealth. The key to unlocking that wealth lies in how well the coin endured over the years. Survival in near-perfect state creates scarcity, and scarcity breeds astronomical value. For those rare coins that escaped handling and wear, the surface remains untarnished, the detail sharp, almost whispering stories from 2009 straight to today's market. What makes the formative years piece particularly mesmerizing is the emotional pull it carries. Unlike other designs, this reverse is not just artistic, it's reflective of a defining moment in American growth. The image represents learning through hardship, the forging of character in simple surroundings. In a world where so many coins lose their edges and details through circulation, a flawless example of this design stands as a testament to time, patience, and preservation. Such an example becomes a prized possession that serious collectors will go to great lengths to acquire, especially when it's certified by reputable grading services that verify the coin's condition as untouched and mint-perfect. These coins were minted during a year when the U.S. Mint was experimenting with design and production to celebrate a historic bicentennial. That means certain batches were struck with more force, better die quality, or slightly different metal composition. Coins from these special strike batches can show depth and detail far beyond what the naked eye expects from a common penny. When a formative years cent exhibits extraordinary depth, mirror-like fields, or unbelievably crisp lettering, it becomes a candidate for elite status among collectors. That status is not based on face value, but on uniqueness and desirability. Now imagine a world where one of these coins, held in absolute mint condition, with no scratches, no blemishes, perfect luster, and sharp artistic detail, ends up in the hands of someone who recognizes its silent power. Suddenly, that coin is no longer a penny. It is a treasure capable of commanding 6 figures or more. And while it might sound like a fantastical dream, the history of rare coins shows that objects once dismissed as ordinary can leap into the realm of multi-million-dollar assets when rarity, condition, and desire align. There have been artifacts far less iconic than this that transformed ordinary owners into wealthy collectors overnight. For the coin to reach such staggering value, condition is everything. A coin that has been cleaned, scratched, or circulated loses what collectors call original surfaces. That means the untouched natural state of the coin's metal, its very soul, is compromised. But when a coin remains in pristine condition, often found by accident in old collectors' boxes, forgotten jars, or carefully stored collections, it becomes a whisper of possibility that serious buyers pay attention to. Those pieces that survived untouched are the ones that experts look for, the ones that introduce gasps and competitive bidding when they finally emerge in the open market. The formative years design itself tells a story that goes beyond metal and minting. It speaks to human potential. Lincoln's youth spent reading by log fires, teaching himself from borrowed books, mirrors how many collectors approach rare coins, with patience, curiosity, and belief in hidden value. That connection between design and destiny adds another layer to the coin's appeal. It is not just a collectible, it's a mirror held up to what we can become when opportunity meets preparation. This symbolic weight adds to the intangible value collectors feel when placing high bids. As time passes, the number of truly pristine examples of this design continues to diminish. Even those that were once stored carefully can suffer the ravages of time unless kept in ideal conditions. What once might have been a common penny slowly becomes rarer and more elusive in that untouched state. Longevity becomes a silent sculptor of value. The longer a perfect coin survives unnoticed, the more it becomes a legend among collectors. It's also vital to recognize that premium value often comes not just from condition, but from stories attached to the specific piece. When a coin has a verified origin, such as being part of a famous collection or discovered in an extraordinary circumstance, it gains narrative weight. Collectors seek not just physical perfection, but provenance, a story that enhances mystique. An untouched, formative years penny pulled from the ground after decades, or discovered in a forgotten box untouched by hands, immediately becomes more than metal, it becomes history. In rare cases, coins like this have entered auctions where bidding escalates beyond logic as passionate collectors compete with deep pockets. These auctions are invisible battlegrounds where the final price tag becomes a reflection of desire, not math. When two buyers face off for a coin with unmatched condition and emotional pull, the value climbs, not due to inherent material, but because of prestige, scarcity, and symbolic importance. This is where the dream of multi-million-dollar value begins to feel less like fantasy and more like possibility. Yet, not every example of this coin will make someone a billionaire overnight. The vast majority remain common, weathered, or ordinary in collector terms. It is only the elite survivors, mint state, flawless, dramatic in detail, that carry real transformative potential. That is why experts always emphasize professional grading before selling or investing. A high-grade label from a trusted service validates the coin's condition and unlocks confidence among serious buyers who will pay premium prices. For any owner holding a formative years cent that looks extraordinary, caution and respect are essential. Handle it gently, avoid cleaning, and seek professional certification. Once verified in elite condition, that coin enters a different dimension of value, not measured by cents, but by collector desire, rarity, and historical weight. This is the realm where seemingly impossible valuations become real, where the smallest coin carries a whisper of fortune. Fourth up. The 1953 Wheat Penny is more than just a worn piece of copper you might find in the bottom of an old drawer. It's a quiet symbol of a bygone era, a whisper of American history, and for the rarest survivors, a potential gateway to wealth that most people only dream about. Issued long after the original 1909 Lincoln Wheat design debuted, the 1953 penny continued the legacy of one of the most iconic coin series in U.S. history. At first glance, it may look humble, ordinary even, but beneath its simple surface lies a story of survival, rarity, and the possibility of unimaginable value. Value that, in the rarest and most perfect examples, could be worth millions and change someone's life overnight. If you happen to hold one of these in near-perfect condition, you are not just holding metal, you are holding history, scarcity, and the electric potential of fortune. The wheat reverse, with its two graceful stalks framing the words, 1 cent, evokes a time when America was rebuilding after war and looking forward with quiet optimism. The year 1953 sat right in the middle of a dynamic decade, one defined by growth, change, and an unspoken confidence in the future of the nation. While millions of these pennies were struck and released into everyday commerce, most were lost to pockets, piggy banks, or the daily grind of buying goods. Only a microscopic fraction escaped the wear of circulation to remain in pristine state, untouched by fingers, air, or time. Condition isn't just important in coin collecting, it is destiny. A 1953 wheat penny pulled from circulation will typically be worth only a few cents above face value. But imagine a coin so perfectly preserved that it looks as if it were struck yesterday. A coin with original mint luster that refracts light sharply, surfaces so clean they seem to whisper, and edges so flawless they defy belief. These elite survivors exist, but they are astronomically rare. When such a piece comes to light, collectors do not simply admire it, they hunt it, they covet it, and they are willing to pay sums that defy logic for a 1-cent piece. You might wonder, why would anyone pay thousands, tens of thousands, or even millions for a penny? The answer lies not in the copper it's made of, but in the story it tells and the condition it survived in. Most coins from 1953 were handled, scratched, bent, or exposed to the elements. The few that avoided all of this, that remained in immaculate condition, are like time capsules, untouched remnants from a different age. Rarity driven by perfect condition transforms these pennies from pocket change into artifacts. And when rarity meets intense collector demand, prices can soar into realms that seem unreal to everyday people. It's also about emotional resonance. The Lincoln Wheat Penny series represents stability, continuity, and the perseverance of a nation through challenging years. These coins were in circulation through eras that shaped the world, passing through countless hands without ever being noticed. The ones that survived untouched are like silent witnesses of history. Serious collectors pay premiums not for copper, but for that connection to time and story, and that, ultimately, is what drives prices into the stratosphere. Within the collector community, grading is everything. A coin's value is determined by a professional assessment of its condition, known as its grade. The difference between a coin graded just above average and one graded at the absolute pinnacle can be staggering. At the highest levels, where surfaces remain smooth, details crisp, and luster radiant, collectors begin to talk about elite survivors, coins that are so rare they become competitive trophies in auctions. In these rarefied circles, a 1953 wheat penny that checks all these boxes can command unbelievable sums. History also plays a silent role. The 1953 coin was minted during a period of post-war prosperity and quiet transformation in American life. For many, these coins remind us of a time when change happened slowly and meaningfully. When you hold a perfectly preserved example, you're not just holding a coin, you're holding a piece of that cultural narrative. Collectors around the world respond to this narrative with passion, and passion is a powerful force in the marketplace. The economic theory of supply and demand is simple in name but dramatic in effect. Even though millions of wheat pennies were made in 1953, the number that survived in truly mint condition shrinks drastically when you account for wear, loss, and destruction over decades. Rarity increases as time marches forward. What was once common becomes uncommon, and what was once unnoticed becomes highly coveted. In the most extreme and rare cases, unique pieces with eye-catching surfaces, deep luster, and remarkable detail can spark bidding wars. When two collectors, each driven by desire and deep pockets, compete for the same coin, prices can escalate far beyond expectations. These are not buyers looking to spend, they are buyers determined to own. That determination, when combined with rarity and condition, is what pushes valuations into the hundreds of thousands, and in some almost mythical scenarios, into the millions. Yet, it's essential to remember that not all 1953 wheat pennies will achieve such staggering values. The vast majority are ordinary survivors of circulation, worth modest premiums at best. But the rare elite examples, the ones with surfaces like mirrored glass, edges sharp as new, and all details precisely preserved, these are the ones that whisper of possibility. And possibility, in the world of rare coins, is the seed from which fortune grows. Collectors do not simply look at a coin's date, they look at how the coin speaks. Does it shine with original luster? Do the grains of the wheat stalks remain defined at the highest points? Is Lincoln's profile crisp, free of wear? These are the questions that separate a regular penny from a potential masterpiece. When a coin answers yes to all these, its story in the collector world changes instantly. Some coins are discovered in extraordinary ways, forgotten collections, old estate boxes, rolls untouched for decades. These discoveries become sensational because they are rare surprises. When a coin in seemingly unbelievable condition surfaces in such a way, its story adds another layer to its appeal, and collectors become even more enthralled. Auction houses watch these moments closely because the perfect storm of rarity, condition, and story can produce headline-making prices. If you possess such a coin, handle it with reverence. Do not clean it, do not place it loosely in a drawer, and do not underestimate what you might have. Bring it to a reputable grading service that can authenticate and preserve its condition. Once a high grade is confirmed, your ordinary penny can officially enter the rarefied world of elite collectibles, where dollars are no longer the limit and millions become possible. In the end, the 1953 wheat penny is more than currency. It is a time-tarnished relic with the potential to be a life-changing treasure. For most, it's a coin they spent without thought. For the few whose example survived untouched, it's a whisper of history, and in the world of rare coins, whispers can transform into roars of fortune. On the right day, in the right market, with the right collector's gaze upon it, this humble penny can indeed be worth far more than its face value, perhaps even a fortune that once only existed in dreams. If you hold one, respect it, for hidden inside that copper disc may be the silent promise of a future rewritten. Fifth up. The 1983 Lincoln Memorial 1 cent may look like an everyday penny, the kind you find on sidewalks, in vending machines, or stuck between sofa cushions, but for those who understand the deeper whispers of rare coins, it can be much more than pocket change. At first glance, the coin appears familiar. The familiar profile of Abraham Lincoln on the front and the iconic Lincoln Memorial on the back. But buried within that common appearance lies a world of possibility, mystery, and, in the most exceptional examples, the power to change a life overnight. Imagine holding a small copper disc that could, in the right condition, carry a hidden fortune, a fortune so profound it could elevate you into unimaginable wealth. This coin story is not about the ordinary. It's about the extraordinary moments when history and rarity align. The year 1983 was a moment in American life marked by change, growth, and evolving design, not one that's typically associated with eye-popping coin values. But within the seemingly mundane world of circulated pennies, there exist survivors so rare and pristine that their beauty evokes awe. These coins did not live the rough life of most pennies, worn smooth by countless hands and relentless pockets. Instead, they escaped the common trajectory and were preserved in a condition that almost defies belief. These are the coins that stop seasoned collectors in their tracks, pennies with surfaces so immaculate they appear as though newly struck. From start to finish, the Lincoln Memorial design carries deep symbolism. On one face, Lincoln, the self-made man, born into humble beginnings, who rose through conviction and resilience. On the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial stands as a testament to unity and perseverance. Most people breeze past this design without noticing the emotional power hidden in every detail, but collectors see beyond the image into the story, the narrative etched into metal that only time can give. And it is this story, this emotional resonance, that begins to fuel value far beyond the coin's face. For the 1983 pennies, the vast majority were released into circulation and bore the scars of everyday use. But a vanishingly small number escaped that fate. Some were lost in change rolls, only to be rescued decades later. Others sat forgotten in old collections or antique jars, untouched by the wear of years. These survivors, especially those that avoided contact with air, moisture, or human touch, preserved their original luster, that mirror-like sheen that collectors call mint state. And in that pristine condition, a simple penny begins to transcend its humble origin. What drives real value is not just age, but condition combined with rarity. A 1983 Lincoln Memorial penny valued at face is simply ordinary. But when it has survived decades without blemish, without nick, without the faintest trace of handling, it becomes something else entirely, a rare artifact that hints at perfection. In the rarefied world of elite coin collectors, perfection commands attention, and attention commands price. Imagine a coin with pristine fields, sharp edges, and details in Lincoln's profile that remain crisp and bold as if frozen in a single moment of time. That is the kind of coin that collectors dream about, and sometimes fight over. Within this world, value can leap exponentially. What was once pocket change can transform into a prize that inspires competitive bidding and fervent desire. When such coins emerge at auctions, seasoned investors and passionate collectors alike sit up and take notice. The energy in the room shifts as eyes appreciate not just metal, but the intangible story of preservation and rarity. In these moments, a small penny becomes much more than a penny, it becomes legendary. Few people realize that coins can embody emotional weight as well as monetary value. When collectors see a flawless specimen, they see not only rarity but history preserved in its purest state. They see a connection to time itself, a piece of the past that has not been worn down by the present. This emotional gravity drives extreme prices. Collectors are not just buying copper, they are buying the story, the survival, the almost mystical journey that coin took to arrive in such remarkable condition. But stories like these are rare. The majority of 1983 pennies remain in circulated condition, with faint scratches, wear around the edges, and dulled surfaces. These coins are worth only modest premiums to collectors who appreciate the series. However, the rare survivors, the ones that escaped contact, corrosion, and touch, those are the coins that usher us into the realm of dreams and possibility. And because the number of such coins is so small, their scarcity fuels the flames of demand, a demand powerful enough to send prices skyrocketing. In the rarest and most pristine conditions, some coins have been known to attract offers far beyond typical collector prices. While it's almost mythical to say a 1983 penny could be worth millions, the rarest and most extraordinary coins in existence, the ones that defy normal expectations of condition and rarity, have occasionally commanded eye-opening prices within private markets or exclusive auctions. These are not everyday transactions. They are the result of elite collectors seeking perfection in a world where perfection is almost impossible to find. If you suspect that you might hold one of these elite survivors, a coin that appears too flawless, too sharp, too vibrant to be ordinary, then careful handling is essential. Never clean the coin, never expose it to anything that might harm its surfaces, and seek professional grading from a respected service. A professional grade can validate the coin's condition and unlock its potential in the collector market. Once authenticated and certified, the coin's narrative transforms from humble penny to treasured artifact. And when a coin reaches that pinnacle, A combination of historical resonance, unmatched condition, and certified rarity, its story begins to be told alongside legends. Collectors will speak of it in hushed, excited tones, and its value can expand beyond what most people would ever imagine. This is the magic of rare coins, the way an ordinary object can accumulate history, mystique, and desirability until it stands at the pinnacle of collecting lore. For most of us, pennies are coins we seldom notice, small, copper-colored, and unremarkable in daily life. But for the collector, every line and curve tells a story. In the rarest examples, these stories resonate with such force that they transform mere metal into an artifact of intense desire. And desire, when paired with scarcity and condition, can create valuations that defy everyday expectations. Owning one of these exceptional coins means holding a moment in time that nearly vanished, a tiny piece of history preserved against all odds. And in a world where narratives drive value as powerfully as numbers, that tiny piece of history can whisper a promise of fortune, recognition, and legacy. If you hold such a coin, treat it not as pocket change, but as a potential treasure, one that carries with it the quiet power to change a fortune overnight, if destiny, rarity, and the right collector's gaze align just right. In that rare and breathtaking moment, the humble 1983 Lincoln Memorial 1-cent coin becomes a gateway to impossible possibilities, a treasure waiting to be unearthed. Sixth up, the 1948 Wheat Penny is not just another copper penny that jingles in your pocket. To the untrained eye it may seem ordinary, a small, humble coin bearing Abraham Lincoln's profile on the front and 2 stalks of wheat on the back, but to passionate collectors and history lovers, it carries a quiet intensity of time, survival, and hidden opportunity. Imagine a coin minted over 7 decades ago, surviving the relentless passage of years, scraped, shoved into coin rolls, forgotten in jars, yet a tiny number endured untouched, crisp, and flawless. These rare survivors hold extraordinary potential, spark wild fascination, and in the most exceptional cases, possess a power that could change a person's destiny overnight. This isn't fantasy talk. This is the world where condition meets rarity, and rarity meets desire. The year 1948 stands in a unique era of American life, a post-war world rebuilding itself, families striving with renewed energy, and a generation rising from the shadows of global conflict into a time of hope and renewal. Lincoln's wheat penny design, first introduced in 1909, had by then become a universal symbol of everyday America. It represented common daily commerce, yes, but also the endurance of an idea, that a nation built around freedom and progress could still find beauty in the simplest of things, like a 1-cent coin. Most of these pennies were cast into circulation without a second thought. But not all. Some were kept, preserved, or simply forgotten in a drawer somewhere. And those are the coins that beckon collectors with an almost mystical allure. To understand why a single 1948 wheat penny could be worth potentially unimaginable wealth, sometimes speculated to reach into the millions in the rarest condition, we must first grasp how rarity is born. Here's the truth. Millions of 1948 pennies were minted, but nearly all of them were used, touched, jostled, and worn. The everyday grind of life left its mark, smoothed edges, faded details, tiny dents. But an infinitesimal number of these coins escaped that fate. These survivors lie in vaults, collections, and sometimes forgotten envelopes. Their surfaces remain untarnished, sharp, and glowing with original mint luster, as if time took one glance and decided to protect them instead of aging them. Condition in coin collecting isn't just important, it is everything. A 1948 penny that shows the slightest wear is worth only a bit more than face value. But one that remains in absolute mint state condition, untouched by human hands, uncleaned, unmarred, now we enter a realm not measured by cents, but by collector obsession. In the rarefied world of elite numismatics, these mint state survivors are whispered about with reverence. They transcend being mere currency. They become artifacts of astounding rarity and desirability. When collectors set their eyes on such perfection, the emotion of desire often outweighs logic, and that's where value explodes. Imagine this coin, its copper surface still radiant, details on Lincoln's coat and face crisp as if the coin were struck yesterday, the wheat stalks on the reverse standing tall and clear with no wear. Such a coin is not just preserved, it is time-wrapped. This is the moment where a penny stops being just money and starts being a silent legend. A coin like this doesn't just sit in a collection. It commands attention, ignites competition, and becomes the centerpiece of auctions where deep-pocketed collectors battle it out with fierce determination. Yet what truly fuels the dream of multi-million-dollar value is not just rarity or beauty, it is demand. There are people whose passion for coins runs deeper than mathematics. They collect not for use, not for trivial novelty, but for connection, to history, to art, and to the thrilling chase of perfection. When these collectors encounter a rare wheat penny in sublime condition, they don't see copper, they see heritage, story, and legacy. And when heritage meets scarcity, the bidding lights up. The highest bidders don't count pennies, they measure dreams. Some rare coins have hidden storylines written into them by accident. Tiny die cracks, unusual strikes, or microscopic variations that occurred during minting. Collectors hunt these traits like detectives pursuing clues. In rare 1948 wheat pennies, such subtle anomalies can add another layer of value, transforming a simple coin into a numismatic marvel. Combine that with pristine condition, and you have a coin that might make even seasoned collectors pause, lean in, and open their checkbooks wide. The world of rare coins is emotional as much as it is financial. People fall in love with the hunt, the scarcity, and the beauty of survival through time. A 1948 wheat penny in perfect condition doesn't just represent scarcity, it represents luck, survival, and endurance. It is a tiny artifact that has defied the odds, whispering to us that treasures might just exist in everyday places if we only know where to look. When collectors recognize such magic, values can shoot into astronomical figures that most people never associate with a once common penny. For the vast majority of 1948 pennies, the story ends in everyday worth, simple face value with small premiums for collectors. But for the tiny fraction that escaped wear and tear, the story becomes one of legendary rarity. It moves from penny jar to collector vault, from ordinary coin to coveted treasure. And when such a coin enters auction, it no longer competes with pennies. It competes in a throne room of rare artifacts where prices climb based on emotion, rarity, and the hunger of collectors who must have it. If you suspect that you hold one of these rare survivors, if your coin's surfaces gleam, its edges are sharp, and its details clear, the first step is reverence. Do not clean it. Do not handle it casually. Cleaning destroys original surface and slashes value. Instead, protect it, cherish it, and seek professional grading from a respected coin service. Authentication validates its condition and unlocks its true potential in the market, transforming it from a humble coin into an elite collectible. Once certified at the highest possible grade, the coin will enter a world where private collectors, serious investors, and coin institutions take notice. Its story changes, from an anonymous penny to a prized artifact with pedigree. And in this arena, valuations are not governed by arithmetic but by rarity-driven desire. Some coins have been known to command astonishing sums at auction, not because they are everyday currency, but because they encapsulate the rarest combination of perfection and history. In the end, the 1948 wheat penny teaches us that true value is layered, built not just from metal, but from survival against time, scarcity born of wear and loss, and the emotional magnetism that only stories can create. For most, a 1948 penny will remain pocket change. But for the lucky few holding a perfectly preserved survivor, it is a symbol of hidden possibility, a tiny disc with the power to rewrite a fortune, reshape a narrative, and whisper the promise of wealth that once seemed reserved for myths. In that delicate balance between rarity and recognition lies the magic of the rare coin world, and for those who hold such a treasure, destiny may just be waiting around the corner.